What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Can We Talk?
Do you still have to read off that ad?
Oh, I guess not. All right, we're good. We're good on the ad this week. So y'all, we had a 1 week hiatus. We're back. A lot of crazy stuff been going on. A lot of albums we got to talk about. A lot of current events we got to get into. But how's everything going with y'all? What's good?
I'm good, man.
Good. We had Father's Day last week.
Yeah.
How was that for y'all?
It was good. It was great. I missed out on Incredibles because Jordan went to go see it with her dad. So
I heard some good things about that.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. Yeah, you know, me and my dad, we exchanged a few words. How you doing? You taking care of business? Yeah. All right, here's some money. See you later.
Like, no hug? No,
we gave a hug. I mean, we talked, you know, but, you know, it was, you know, I feel like my dad, you know, he's the type that not really say it, but I know he wants me to check up on him, so yeah. I did that, you know, and yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I guess girls are different.
Yeah, my mom lets me know. She wants.
My dad lets me know.
Yeah.
Like, like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm daddy's girl. So.
My dad talks to my mom like, "Is Anthony okay? Is Anthony all right?" She's like, "Tell him, ask him yourself." You know. Yeah.
Wait, we do that and we live together. My dad does that with my mom. Like, did Shayna get that taken care of? She right upstairs.
Right. You can go upstairs and ask her. Like, that's good. I'm glad it all went well for everybody. These current events, I'm about to get into current events for.
How was your Father's Day?
Well, my father isn't here anymore, so you know that's.
Okay.
I mean, but it's been a while. It's been a long time. Been like 10 years, 11 years since he passed away. So we always around this time, you know, always reflect on, you know, on having him and the joy that he brought into my life. So that's, you know, used as a reflection period. But didn't do much. Just hung out, chilled. But y'all, for this current events, we got to get into a lot of stuff that's been going on, particularly with the administration and the border. So there was a zero tolerance policy that you know, Donald Trump sort of agreed upon in terms of border crossing, where any child would have to be separated from their parent. And this caused a lot of uproar, seeing some of the images of the little kids inside of these little detention facilities and, you know, not having proper, just like living with little, like, what was the blankets, the silver blankets, you know, sleeping with that stuff, living in cages, things of that such. It really drew an uproar. And I guess he signed this into order, some executive order, which he didn't even have to do, stating that he would return the kids to their families. But ultimately, he controls and he oversees the Department of Homeland Security. So he could have just called and let them know, like, hey, you know, we're not doing this anymore. So he made it this big to-do. He's trying to claim a victory out of something that he caused, which is kind of strange. But what are your thoughts about that? What's been going through your head with this whole immigration debate, you know, this issue with the kids? Like, where do you stand?
Well, I guess if I'm gonna go first, you know, my main criticism is of the response of it all. Like, you know, you'll have certain people, you know, they'll be like, well, you know, Obama bounced the ball off the backboard, you know, Trump caught it or something like that. Right. And
is that my direct quote?
It sounds like
are you
something
quoting me from Facebook?
You're not the only person that said that, though. Believe it or not, it wasn't just you. And you know, I get it, I understand, but it's not about who's in office. It's about really what's going on. And if it's wrong, it's wrong, no matter whose administration it is. And I remember a friend of mine told me, kind of texted me, like, I guess like 2 weeks after the fact, like 1 or 2 weeks after, like, man, you hear about what's going on the border? This is sad. And I'm like, you haven't been watching the news? He said, no, I don't watch the news. And I asked my mom about that, and she kind of gave me an insight, like, you know, that's how certain people, they can move on, they can move about in life. If you're a sensitive person, that's how you can move about in life, not being sad by watching the news. Because if you watch the local news, that's even more depressing. So I understood certain viewpoints. But overall, it's unsettling.
Yeah.
I just feel like we have to, like, we can't just be here. We have to understand how we got here and what policies, how we ended up here in the first place. And it goes all the way back to Clinton, if you want to, you know, be real about it. But I think, like, with, like, illegal immigration, yes, we want people to go through the proper channels, but there's a humane way to go about it. Like if we say, hey, you can't come here unless you go through the proper channels, we can do that without being disgusting, without being inhumane, without separating children from their parents.
And that's just the difficulty of the border situation. It's just, and it happened. It goes back a long time. Every president in the recent era has had that issue of that trouble of trying to figure out, all right, how can we do this in the right way? You know, we don't want to exclude people who have the opportunity who are trying to escape whatever persecution they're facing in their home country. We want to give them an opportunity to come here and create a life. But how do we do it in a way that's going to be the most beneficial for everyone? But I just think that Trump's policy of that zero tolerance was something that really pushed that cruelty of it. You know, it didn't have to be like that. You know, why not let a kid and their family stay together during the deportation process or whatever that may be, and then figure out through legislation, through whatever, figure out the best pathway to get them citizenship or get them in the country the right way. It's you know, any president is going to have an issue trying to figure this out, and I know it's just a tough situation. It's kind of it's polarizing. It's hard to deal with, but you have to do it in a way that's, like I said, humane and in the best interest of these kids, because these are little kids. These are babies.
Yeah, like they didn't ask. They didn't
Of
ask
course
this.
It's an experiment that terribly failed.
Yeah,
That's one way to look at it too.
Like, I think they were trying to use separation as a deterrent, but that doesn't, like, there's always a risk of separation, like, when you're trying to get into the country illegally. So that, like, they shouldn't even try that.
I think they use it as a deterrent, but also as leverage to get that border wall passed. I think they're trying to show this, like, all right, you know, this is the extreme. This is what it could look like. So you need to go ahead and fund this wall. And I think that's just a way of a strong arming, you know, the Congress into, you know, making those decisions on funding that wall.
People can climb walls, B.
Exactly.
I mean, like,
there's planes.
And then illegal immigrants don't only come from Mexico.
Right. And that's the sad part, that narrative that we have right now. We're associating legal immigrants with Hispanics, and it is not
Just
always
like
the
immigration as a whole, they associate with the Hispanic community. Like when I hear black people talk about, like, oh yeah, like when they're not in favor, you know, of it. But then at the same time, the administration ended a program that's going to send back Haitians that were here from the hurricane, from the earthquake.
And then we demonize these people saying, oh, we're trying to stop the MS-13 from getting in. And like they create this fake, I mean, and again, MS-13 is real, but they it's like the propaganda they use to sort of push it to something that is not.
It's,
like it's
real, but it's like super outdated. Like the whole Bloods and Crips, like it's outdated.
Right.
Like, there's so many like different like affiliations now.
Yeah, so I read recently, I think it was this morning, where 520 of the kids were returned to their families, but it's still like 2,000 more, you know, that's out there. So hopefully over this time they can get these kids reunited with their families. But it's just sad overall. Other news, did anyone see the woman who pretended to call the cops on a little girl 8 years old who was selling water?
I just read about it. Like, I'm actually like tired of seeing that.
Yeah,
we can't do anything. It's like that episode we said. It's like that episode that we can't do anything. We can't even just be.
Can't seriously, like, can't barbecue, can't live.
I assume the girl was black, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she was a little black girl. Yeah, that was just. It reminds me, it's the whole barbecue Becky situation.
We can't even be a house appraiser. Remember the house appraiser?
Yeah, I remember that. I saw that guy. He got the lady called the cops on him saying he's trying to break in or something.
But as a mom, like, I have a problem because I don't do it when people threaten children with law enforcement.
Right.
As a form of discipline. Like, I don't do that. I don't like when other people do it. Like, my daughter has told me, and I will check you in a really nice, nasty way, that's not how I do things.
Right. I mean, think of the.
Has that happened before?
Yes.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. She told me something about going to jail. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're 5. Like, what do you know about jail? Like, you don't know anything about jail. Who told you that? And then she told me who it was, and we had a conversation. So, like, you don't, like, I don't want you to do that to your own kids, but definitely don't do that to mine.
I know that's a baby too. Like, what message are you sending that kid? Like,
remember when I was a kid, I used to hear threats, on my parents' side of things. Like, if your kid is truant too much, then the parent might go to jail.
And
That's
Because
like,
it's their responsibility to make sure that they go to school.
yeah, that's still a policy that some schools have
that
in terms
frightened
of
me.
attendance. It's a coercive power. It forces you to do something through, punitive actions. But again, for a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old, the message that is sort of sending, saying that, again, just because it typically happens to black people, that the only way to sort of correct that behavior or is ultimately going to lead to some type of intervention from the police, and that's just it's not a good narrative to kind of send to. It's bad all around. And that whole situation, I'm just sick and tired of hearing about this stuff. It happens too often, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's getting out of hand.
Even the cops say it's ridiculous.
It's a waste of time. Like, you're gonna call the cops on an 8-year-old just sitting there selling waters.
Right.
Another thing. It's been a lot of stuff going on.
All right, one more, then we gotta move on.
You know what? It's going to be about Trump again, but it's going to be about Trump's administration. I'm kind of sick of talking about Trump's administration.
It's like, but we have to.
This was Sarah.
Seep into the topic. Though.
This is with Sarah Sanders. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who is the communications person for the White House, she went to a restaurant called the Red Hen in Virginia, and the owners of the Red Hen in Virginia turned her away because they didn't believe or they didn't agree with Trump's policies, and they didn't think that she would. I guess they didn't want the optics of her being there. What do y'all think about that? Do they have the right to turn her away because of who she works for? Or do you think that is setting a slippery slope?
No, because what if it was somebody else whose policies you agreed with, who's somebody you probably look up to, and they don't agree with their policies, so they refuse them. There needs to be a balance.
Mm. Well, how can we do that, though?
If they refuse her, then somebody that you look up to is going to be refused somewhere else. So where's the resolution of that?
Okay, I agree. I think that is not a justifiable thing to do because, again, like you said, the shoe was on the other foot. It will be met with outrage. Yes, I agree.
By balance, you got to treat others the way you want to be treated, regardless if you don't agree with them.
Right.
I agree that, stand up for yourself and defend yourself. Sure, but,
again, there's other ways to protest that situation that's more productive than to say, all right, you can't frequent our restaurant because of who you work for. I agree. What about you, Shannon?
I get wanting to protect your business. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of 1917 American Bistro.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the Avenue of Fashion. The owner catered. The owner is a black man. He catered a Trump event.
Oh, for real?
And then, not too long ago, I think in January he closed.
Mm.
He was open, and then he closed. So, I get wanting to protect your business, but you can't turn away like a customer just because you don't agree with their politics.
Although, that one bakery turned away customers for their sexual orientation.
Right.
So, that's a whole nother story we can get into. But that's all I have for current events. Let's move on.
Hip-hop corner.
Hip-hop corner.
So,
yeah, a lot.
We got the Beyonce, Jay-Z.
Beyonce, Jay-Z.
Sure, how was that?
I love Beyonce, and I detest Jay-Z. Like, I don't like Jay-Z, but I wish I had less of Beyonce on this project.
Oh.
Less of Beyonce.
Less of Beyonce?
I feel like a lot of the beats were, like, more so, like, for a Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And I'm actually loving, like, the growth of his content, as of late. So he made the project kind of like he made it enjoyable for me. I don't like the single. I feel like content wise, I like Jay-Z's verse on there or whatever, but I feel like Beyonce has regressed.
Think so?
He's 36.
Wow, dog! I never thought I'd hear this from a Beyonce fan.
Right, a regression of Beyonce.
That's
like
as
far as content, like. Come on.
Do you think that she was trying to more so fit the mold of or the idea of the album? I feel like
you are, like you're an icon. You set the standard. You don't follow the standard, and you basically that's a Migos song.
Yeah.
The single that's a Migos song.
This is a moment in history,
I'm shocked
a
right now.
Beyonce fan saying Beyonce regressed.
I'm shocked because usually, I mean, I heard all the Beyonce fans on Twitter just like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing I ever heard." You know, she out here rapping.
This gave me my whole year.
I mean, I like the project because of Jay-Z. Like that's why I like it, not because of Beyonce. Like it's a couple of songs on there where I was like, I wish he had just stayed on the chorus. Like I don't need your verse. Like,
all right, out of 5 stars, how many stars are you giving it?
I'll give it 3.
3 out of 5. Okay, I mean that's still.
I mean, it's a solid project.
Hey,
it kept my ear longer than Nasir.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, I gotta talk about Nasir. But okay, so I didn't listen to it. But on the cover, that's Joey Badass, right? The guy that's getting his hair braided or hair cut off. Who is that?
I don't know. I think they're just random models. They were also in the video.
Oh, he looked like Joey Badass. Okay, so you got anything else?
You said you want to talk about Nasir.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but like Nas, like
the personal situation was taking it away from.
No,
Okay.
it's the beat selection. Like I was expecting more of a between the Kanye and Nas collaboration.
I liked it though. I kind of liked it.
I mean, I liked it too, but it's Nas.
My thing is, I really liked it. Like, when the first time I heard it, I felt like it was an experiment. I felt like it was an experiment, and I felt like Kanye, he's in a different kind of production phase right now where he's trying a lot of new things. And Nas, I think he owned up to it. I think he was up for the challenge. And the first time I heard it, it was like, okay, that was different. But the more times I heard it, I said, yo, this is classic. Because I really did like it. Like I like
classic.
I would say that, man. The more I listen to it, and this is just subjective, I really liked it. Like, the one song on there that most people don't like, it really grew on me. Everything, because when I first heard that, I'm like, this is empty self-empowerment to me. But I don't know.
I liked it on first listen.
But the more I heard it, I was like, okay, I'm digging what they're saying, and I always loved Nas' verses, even the first time I heard it. But I feel like everything mixed well. Cop Shot the Kid is classic to me. I love Adam and Eve. I think him and the Dream should make more songs like that. Simple Things is an okay closer. I think overall, I really enjoyed Nasir, man.
Okay.
I don't know if it's better than Daytona. They're both two different beasts, but I love both of them.
Yeah, it was a good project.
Tiana Taylor.
I didn't listen. Like the thing is, when the project don't come out on time, it's kind of discouraging.
That's what the listening stream is for.
I mean, like I like J Rock because J Rock's album came out on time. Like I've listened to it more. I was able to. I'm like, okay, waiting on Nasir. Oh, it's not. Reload. Oh, it's not here yet. Oh, let me listen to this J Rock.
But yeah, I gotta say, Redemption, it's not better than 90059. I'll say that off the top. But like I said, it's like a fine wine project. The latter half is better than the former half.
I agree.
And when you listen to the latter half, then you understand the former half, because it is a little slow in the beginning. Because as you know, J Rock was in a motorcycle accident, which prevented him from doing the project for a minute, and so that's where the bloodiest comes in. And I think it is a redemptive project. But yeah, I hope that he comes out with something that's as good as 90059 though.
Yeah, I heard some of the J Rock. I'm not a J Rock fan. I mean, I knew of him, but I never really heard his stuff in its entirety. So I listened to it. It was all right.
You got to start with
I like the song with J. Cole. I really like the video.
Yeah. You got to start off with 90059 though. You can't start off with that album. I think King's Dead works better on there than it did on the Black Panther album. I just think it works better on there.
I will say I do got one beef with the music industry, and that's with Tidal. Tidal, I'm so mad because they hype up. All right, first off, they release these exclusives, and then a day later it's on Apple Music. Like, what's the point of having both?
I know Spotify.
Makes no sense.
I know Spotify co-signed J Rock's project. They sponsored his album. I'm more of a Spotify dude, man. I agree. I don't have Tidal.
I subscribe to Apple Music, but Tidal, they have the best like sound quality. I like out of all three.
The iPhone has the best sound quality,
right?
In general.
But if you like, Apple Music has like, it's the worst out of all three. But Spotify, it has a different. The music quality is better, but Tidal has the best. But I don't get the whole exclusive. But Lemonade is still exclusive on there.
I guess. I
Yeah,
guess.
and they gotta go in front of somebody. They say they lied about the streams.
Oh, dang. So they going in front of testifying in front of.
No, I know for sure. Jay-Z has to go in front of SEC because of Rockaware. They say he
wow.
may have oversold it.
Oh,
He's been dodging them.
shoot.
See, he on the run for real. It's not just the name of the tour.
Okay.
Well, let's move on. Is that it for your?
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, Aunt. What's your 2 cents?
No, I got one more thing for Hip Hop
Oh,
Corner.
okay.
I want to ask y'all this. So I feel like with J. Cole releases, just one quick question. I really like KOD when it first came out, but I feel like that and like For Your Eyes Only, I really like those albums in the moment. But as time goes on, I don't think they have the same resonance to me as Forest Hills Drive and Born Sinner. What do y'all think? Like
I didn't like For Your Eyes Only when it came out.
I liked it when it came out because of its package, the way it was delivered and the story it told. But after a while,
I mean, I
eh.
like that about it. Like I like the whole. Oh man, you got a kid. That's cool. Like you
Right.
talk about, the whole progression. But it didn't sonically work for me. Like KOD.
I can't get into J. Cole anymore. I'm sorry.
Then he's too slow.
I think so. I mean, I just feel like after a while, it just becomes just a little redundant. I'm like, I feel like I heard this before. It's all right. I'm not going to listen to it all the time. Like
Fair
just once.
assessment. Fair assessment.
So I just don't listen to him like that anymore. I don't feel bad saying it, but
Okay. All
But
right.
I do still love I still love Born Center and
Oh, yeah.
Forest Hills Drive. I love those albums.
Okay, all right, yeah, me too. I love Born Center. All right, on to my 2 cents. I'll make this quick since I want to go into this topic. Follow me on Instagram at Reluctant Movie Buff. I know I've been slipping on the reviews, but I swear I'll drop something. I did a review for Hereditary on We Are Critics, but okay, so I'll just get this one out the way. I saw First Reformed. That's an independent movie with Ethan Hawke. It's a slow movie and it's deep. It's a little too deep for me to deconstruct in my segment. But I know I can tell you this: he's a tortured reverend, and it's just about how just like trying to keep your faith in this kind of world. And he's a reverend of a small church that's like a part. He's a small church that's like I guess part of a big larger church where Cedric the Entertainer is the head preacher. It's actually a serious role. He's not even funny. He's actually pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a deep movie. It's slow, but it's deep. I say if you catch it on HBO, check it out. I finally saw the first season of The Shy. Me and Kyra binge watched
Finally?
it. Yeah,
Dang, it's been like 3 months
I
since
know,
it
man.
ended.
I got a list I'm going through, man. Me and Kyra really liked it. I wouldn't I'd see where the comparisons to The Wire come from, but I really think it's its own kind of like humane drama show that has, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Drug dealing, surviving, comedy, drama. I love the kids.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it, man.
it's a solid series, man. Just seeing sort of the character development in some of them, getting to know like the backstory about how it's intertwined, like everything is sort of interconnected. I really do. I really enjoyed it.
I gotta say, in the beginning, my favorite character was Jason Mitchell's, but by the end, it was the main. I guess you could call him the antagonist, the old man. I really loved his acting.
He a thug, man. He's just going in and just killing people.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm sure people saw it by now.
Well, I mean, you know that like three
But I
episodes
kind of
in.
guessed
though.
the plot twist. I'm like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
keeps asking about him, so.
Yeah, I figured.
Right? Yeah, that too. Yeah, man, all around solid. But Incredibles 2. So I saw this at the drive-in, and
What's the drive-in?
yeah, I love the drive-in.
Yeah,
man.
drive-in is dope.
Ford and Dearborn.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good, man. It lived up to the first one. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I laughed. I had a smile on my face. It's classic Pixar, man. There ain't really much else to say except, it stood up and delivered, like Finding Dory. I love Finding Nemo, bro, and that movie lived up. I didn't see the short in the beginning, but I heard like the short in the beginning made everybody cry.
Those are always the best, man, with Disney Pixar shorts.
Yeah. But Shayna said she saw Superfly, so I'm going to pass the baton to her.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
I heard it's good.
I enjoyed it. I just a couple beats was Trevor Jackson's hair.
Whatever you had.
I think it was a lace front. I think I saw the netting. I was close enough to see it, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
But the other beef I have with it, I don't think they should have called it Superfly. I think they should have named it something else, like so it could like stand alone on its own, because it basically does.
You know,
But I enjoyed it.
I heard they try to keep that sort of 70s theme with it, but in like a new age.
it's future.
The future. I don't know why they
I
decided
enjoyed the soundtrack. I didn't talk about it in the hip hop corner, but I thoroughly
okay.
enjoyed the soundtrack.
Okay.
But yeah, I was expecting it to be bad.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen Trevor Jackson lead. I do watch Grownish, so I've never seen him lead, but he does a decent job.
Yeah, I think what you said about Superfly is the opposite of how I feel about Avatar. I feel like that should have been named James Cameron's Pocahontas or James Cameron's Fern Gully. That's the only correction that film should have had, because that wasn't an original concept. Beautiful
So
to
true.
watch, but not
yeah.
original.
So true. I will add too, the second season of Luke Cage is out. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Do you like
I
it?
tried.
I mean, I only saw one
I
episode.
tried. I don't remember Mike Coulter being that bad and even act like.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's pretty rough this semester. I mean, not semester. This season.
Critics are saying something different. They saying it's good. Well, maybe y'all got to keep watching.
Right, I just saw one episode, so I can't really judge it too much. But I feel like he's trying a little too much in this season. I don't know.
All right. Well, it's time for the central theme.
Oh,
Eric, lead us off, man.
so this thing we're talking about the American flag, and essentially what the American flag means to you as a citizen of this country, right? And so, I mean, I was thinking about this a lot, and obviously, the American flag is the symbol of the country. It represents freedom. It represents, liberty. Just sort of the American values. But also look at it as twofold. It doesn't really represent that for everyone, right? And I think it's always important to sort of critique where you are. I mean, obviously, you love your country, and that's fine. But I think it's also important to critique the faults of your country as well to get better and grow, right? And so looking at the American flag, and especially with the issues with the kneeling before the flag, for the anthem and all that stuff, I think we need to view it as a symbol of who we are as a country, but it's not who we are as a country. That's just a symbol. So what do y'all think about the American flag, what it represents, and sort of how you view its representation in your life?
Oh, you want me to go?
No, I can tell you, you're going to go for a minute. Let me go. Let me go. Well, look, man, I'm going to be honest, just on the surface level, and this isn't to hurt anyone's feelings. It's like, it doesn't mean that much to me. And the reason is, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. So in our class, when people would stand up to pledge allegiance to the flag, I couldn't say anything. I had to, not say it. And, for a while I questioned this until I asked my mama, like, hey, how come I don't pledge allegiance to the flag? And my mama said, oh, it's because of our religion. We don't do that. She explained to me in detail why we don't pledge allegiance to the flag. So from that point on, I guess that kind of stuck a root in my head, like, it's just a flag. Yeah. And as time went on, as I kind of strayed away from being a Jehovah's Witness, even then, I mean, I look at the flag and I understand the message it wants to give, but I feel like the message these days, looking from a minority standpoint, it's empty. Sometimes I wonder, like, these immigrants that are trying to get into our country, Hispanic or whatever, is the message of the flag empty to them, or did it feed the message it was supposed to feed to them, but then they ran into trying to get into this country and a lot of hardships and be like, okay, that flag means nothing. Yeah. You got to wonder.
That's deep. Shayna?
Oh, I mean, it's a flag. Like, it's a symbol. And a lot of people, like, they hold this symbol sacred. I was riding down 8 Mile the other day, and I seen a pickup truck. And on the back, there was a decal, like, you stand on my flag, I'll stand on your ass. And I was like, dang, I think this person says nigger a lot.
Right.
A lot. And they were like they were gone. Like, yeah, they was on the Detroit side. So
flying.
They was flying. But, I mean, it's a symbol. And I get why people wear symbols so that you can publicly show, like, where you stand. Like, I get, the rainbow and the red, black, and green. Like, I get that. But
Yeah.
the flag, the American flag, and then I was made to pledge allegiance to it like every day for like 13 years.
In school, right?
Yeah,
In school, yeah, in school we had to. I just think that we have this idea that having an American flag means that you're this patriot or something about you is, you're more patriotic than the person next to you. But I think the true patriotism is knowing that you're fighting for the fighting for the equal quality, equalization of people's rights. You're fighting for pretty much getting people, I guess, on the same level. And when you're looking at when you look at the history of American flag, when you're looking at the history of America, many things and many injustices were wrapped in cloth with the American flag. And that's the one thing where we got to sort of disconnect ourselves from. Like, yes, you can be patriotic and you can love the flag, but does that still mean that the country is doing things that are in the best interest of everyone, right? And I think we sort of get that confused, and we blur those lines between the two. And I think we should be able to step outside the two and not call someone unpatriotic just because they don't think the American flag truly is the symbol of what other people think it is.
Or they kneel,
qualities.
or they kneel during an anthem because they feel a certain way towards the lyrics of the anthem. You know, I feel like that's one thing that irks me, man. Like, sometimes I watch The View. I do, and I enjoy that show. And Meghan McCain's the only one on there that's like really conservative.
Yeah.
And I feel like her going against a bunch of people who are liberal, sometimes the audience doesn't applaud for her, not as much as they should if you keep it equal. But
Right.
like, I feel like her stance on the whole kneeling things, he says, I disagree with everybody. I think kneeling is disrespectful. But it's like, they're trying to explain to you why they're doing it, and you're still saying it's disrespectful. But I'm like, if we're trying to reach a level of understanding here, if I'm telling you what it is and that I'm not disrespecting it, why are you still saying I'm disrespecting it? Like, we need to reach understanding, because I think people hold this wall up on what you think is right. Like, a black person might say, this is what blackness is. If an outsider or a white person tries to tell me what blackness is, I'm going to shut them down.
Yeah,
White person
Right.
well, a white person tries to say, this is what the country is. If a black person tries to tell me what the country is, I'm going to shut them down. I think there needs to be a level of understanding.
But there's the thing, like, I live in this country, so I can tell you what it is. You don't live in this skin, so you can't tell me what it is. That's the difference. But as far as, like, equality goes, like, what do you mean by equality? Because in order to get everybody on equal footing, preferential treatment is going to have to be given.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. You got to look at, anytime you're trying to reach equality, it takes, you got to look at equity first, right? How can we ensure that this inequitable situation is now fair for everyone so that we can move everyone up together? So, yeah, I agree. And I think people, especially in this country, we believe so much in sort of meritocratic values. Essentially, that this is a meritocracy, so everyone should have the fair, chance of getting something based off of their ability. But it's just not like that. That's not the truth. Like, the country was built on systematic injustices and suppression of some people over others. And so therefore you need to sort of figure out ways to alleviate those injustices before you can move together and say, all right, now we can look at it straight off of merit. My biggest issue, though, is that I think the people aren't willing to really listen to each other, though. I think regardless of what situation or what side of the argument you stand on, we're so quick to shut people out without giving them that ear. And just sort of like you said, you got to sort of hear people out and get to know their side of the story before you come to your conclusion. And for better or worse. And I think we all guilty of it, no matter what side you're on.
And I think perception is reality, and the fact that every time I see a flag hanging off the end of a person's vehicle, I see the word Trump somewhere. Right. And I'm not a Trump supporter. Objectively, right. I'm not a Trump supporter. So if I'm someone that's young and I'm seeing that everywhere I go, if there's an American flag on the back of a vehicle and it has the word Trump somewhere, I'm going to think like, okay, as a minority in this country, I think that's the enemy because they're supporting the enemy. Yeah. Therefore, the flag means nothing to me. That's why I'm talking about level of understanding. That's just one person that supports the flag for their own reason. There's other people that support the flag that are just like you for different reasons. The reasons that it should be, actually.
Yeah. I mean, but there's also, like you said, when someone hijacks that symbol, it sort of taints that, taints it forever, right? And so you're starting to see those alt-right people who are, they're putting the flags on everything, and they're saying, oh, if you don't stand for the flag, if you're not on my side, you're just some liberal, snowflake, whatever you are.
But I also think like you should listen to these people when they talk. Like I listened to Richard Spencer when he talked. He said, I don't value equality. I value dominance. Like those are his words.
Yeah. And we need to start putting that out there.
The son of a cotton heiress who gets millions and millions of dollars in farm subsidies. So like you gotta listen to people. You gotta know these people's background. Like when they talk, like he's not poor. Like like people like to attribute like racism to hillbillies. Like no, he's not. That's not what he is.
That's not especially nowadays. Yeah, they dressed up. They lawyers. They're doctors. They're politicians, and they're hidden. They're hidden in plain sight nowadays. But my thing is like there seems to be some type like two sort of worlds that we live in. That's sort of the perspective of the minority individuals in America who we face oppression, we face these injustices, and we sort of our reality is shaped by that. And then it's the other world where the majority, the white people who haven't had to deal with situations such as oppression, who in many cases benefited from their whiteness, right? And they view the American flag, they view patriotism in two different ways. So how would you look at patriotism from the black community? How would you say, what would define black patriotism in our minds? Because I know for me, when I think of patriotism, I'm thinking of those football players who are taking a knee, right? They doing something that's, again, they're not challenging the flag, they're not challenging the military, they're challenging the structure and the systems. That's patriotism to me.
I mean, you got to go back to what MLK said in one of his final speeches. I think it was his final speech, America, I want you to live up to what you said on paper. I mean, that's pretty much, in my mind, a nutshell of what we expect.
Can that ever happen, though?
I don't know. I like to be an optimist, but, my pessimistic side comes out once in a while and says, no, you got to take it, or you got to get it in your own way. It's hard to really answer that question. What's patriotism from the black perspective, you asked?
Yeah, so...
I think that a lot of us, we run from our history in this country. Like we try to disregard the whole slavery thing. So when I say something proudly, like I come from slaves. Like they built this country. Right. Like this, like literally. And we attribute it to economies throughout the world with our labor. And I feel like a lot of black people are not patriotic because they try to run away from that history.
Right. That's so long ago, and why bring that up now? And it's a different time now, is what I usually hear.
Yeah, I didn't think of it from that point. I think you're completely correct. I think when you've been told that your history when your history is demeaned and is looked at as being a negative, obviously it's just human nature. Like, all right, that's not me. I don't associate with that. But we also have to look at the other side of the picture, those stories that we do highlight. Those individuals who are able to make the most out of the situation they were in and still strive towards freedom and the strength that you had to have to be able to survive that. You coming from people who survive, first off, coming through the transatlantic slave trade, being able to survive that alone was almost miraculous, right? Then from there, being ripped from their families, forced to, work in the fields where you were killed, slaughtered, maimed, and then still be able to, from that situation, find that joy, keep pushing, still create community. We're not really taught that. We look at slavery as that negative thing that happened in America, and let's hurry up and get past it, and let's move towards, the different era. But
it's like a blip.
It's a ghost.
And it's talked about separately from American history instead of being interwoven into it. Like, I shouldn't be learning about peonage in my 30s.
Yeah.
This is something that should have been taught. Like, I think everybody should learn, about, because it's like, oh, slavery was here, and then it ended. But that's not what happened. Right. Something worse came after that, and it's not in the books.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
There's a book called Slavery by Another Name. It basically goes into detail about the period of peonage where it's basically what we talk about with mass incarceration. Black people charged with petty crimes and being made to work. And like they build infrastructure for free.
Yeah.
So and then and there's just horror stories and it's worse. It's worse than slaveries. I'm not trying to like big up slave masters, but it was in their best interest to keep their slaves alive.
Right.
Whereas in the period of peonage, if somebody dies while they're trying to mine, we'll just go get another one. And there's just, all these horror stories of wives saying, my husband went somewhere and he never came back. Or my husband went somewhere and he came back years later because he had to work somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I went to like a black middle school because they taught us about slavery. Because if I think I went to a middle school that was like not a charter middle school, but a middle school that was like in the suburbs, I don't think slavery would have been like touched on. I think it would have been like one sentence in a history book, and it kind of would have just kept going. But in my middle school experience, we actually went in depth with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's even times now where they're trying to get rid of the slavery period in history books, in like Texas, like the Texas
Like the immigrant workers,
right, to turn them into immigrant workers. And so when you're dealing with situations like that, where you're constantly, if you're looking at sort of the whitewashing of history, and your space in history as a culture is sort of being diminished, and you're not seeing people who, are actually inventors and creators and engineers who, helped build and shape America. Your vision of what America is and that vision interpretation of the flag is going to be like, they don't care for me, right? They never care for what I contributed and brought to the society, so why care for it? And I think you do see a lot of apathy amongst, black people and other minorities when it comes to this idea of patriotism and, what American values mean, because we never benefited from it, right?
Who is they?
Well,
are they still living? Do they still matter?
I mean, they is essentially, I'm just using the over-encompassing term of just.
No, I know, but I'm saying like in terms of that, we got to break that down. Who is they? Are they still living? Do they still matter?
I mean, they is just a system. It's just like the system. Like
but the
it's hard to
system
explain.
needs people to work in it. It's not self-governing. It's not self-sufficient. It's not on autopilot. It needs people. It needs active participation. But back to black patriotism, I get like when people opt out of voting. But what I don't get is when people are so hard on other people for opting out of voting, but then they try to get out of jury duty. Like, are you a true patriot if you run away from that? That's our duty. I have yet to be called to sit on a jury. I can't wait. But most of the people man, I wore my Black Lives Matter T-shirt so they wouldn't call on me, but in the same breath will complain about a cop getting found not guilty for murdering someone else unarmed. So,
but I mean, even in jury duty, if you're selected, I mean that's the thing.
But they do things to not get selected.
Oh, so they're purposely going out of the way.
Yeah, they go out of their way to not sit on the jury.
That's a good point you brought up there, Shayna.
That's just as important as voting.
I feel like it's even more important than voting. Like that's your choice to not vote. I mean, I vote because there's always something important on the ballot. Always. But I get it if you've, mentally checked out of the voting process. But I don't understand the not wanting to sacrifice your time to sit on a jury. That's a sacrifice.
Yeah. No, I think voting is too important, though. I understand why. I can see why some people may not, but I think that, as you see from the last election, every single vote counts. Having people out there, but again, the mentality of they don't really care about us; they just care about our votes. That's true. I mean, I can't really blame someone for seeing that way. But I just think that it's our duty, if we really want to see those things change and change the structure, change the outcomes in our communities and our lives, you got to vote. You need representation from, the people in the community to actually change the figures who are put in place.
All right, so final thoughts.
Final thoughts on this one. This is always going to be met with a little bit of, taboo, a little bit of resentment. Sorry, when you're looking at the American flag, I think that it's polarizing. One side of the country sees it as one way, another side sees it as a different way, and it's kind of hard to mend those two divides unless we sort of bring to light those various narratives. Being able to listen to each other's conversations and sort of see each other's side of the story, but also inform those of the injustices and the situations we're going through as well, so that we can all have at least be aware of why we think that way. So it's a tough topic, and it's one of those things where people don't want to toe the lines and want to be as politically correct as possible, but you also have to shine a light on what's really happening in this country.
Yeah, a flag, it's just a symbol to me. It's like, it's a symbol that I choose not to, partake in. But I am an American, and I'm an American that takes it very seriously. I believe that being an American is not a spectator sport, that you have to be active within the community, and always actively trying to learn about what's going on.
Yeah, maybe with time when I have kids, I mean, I do believe the flag probably will mean more to me. Maybe. I don't know.
I have kids.
What is kids?
I don't know. Maybe
I try to make sure,
maybe my son or daughter might feel a different way, and they might inspire me in some way. I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is, just to piggyback off what Shayna was saying earlier about understanding even what the opposing force is and what their motives are, like what she said about Richard Spencer.
Yeah.
Going back to what I said about if you're black and somebody who's not black, they can't tell you what blackness is, sure. But there needs to be a level of understanding where that person could at least understand what blackness is and not just look at it as the other, where we can't look at something else as the other that may not be totally extreme like Richard Spencer. It may actually be coming from a real place. Like if somebody has Blue Lives Matter, they're not coming from an anti-Black Lives Matter. It's straight up, hey, my husband was a cop and he got shot.
Right.
I feel like level understanding needs to be met in most situations.
Yeah. It's been another great episode, y'all. Please like, share, subscribe. We're on Facebook, we're on iTunes, and SoundCloud.
We need to have more guests, man.
Yeah, we do.
I was talking to Shannon about that. Maybe. We should.